You just need to grab a Chromebook. So we're going to do the installment note. So at the bottom here, click on the sheet and hit rename. You're going to rename this, just type in installment. So that's an installment note. So we're going to do the installment note on here so we have a comparison. So what I want to do is, how much are we borrowing here? What is the face value of the note? What's the face value of our note? 100,000. So punch in 100,000, and we'll format here in a second. What is our market rate? What's our market rate of our installment note? 6%, right? So we're going to type in 0.06. How often is this compounding per year and payments per year on the first note that we did? What was it? 1 is annual. No, it was semi-annual, so it would be 2. So there, face value. Oh, thank you. Face value was 200. So I'm just pulling off the problem, and then we have our N was 4 because we had 4 payments. Remember, the payment is what we're trying to solve for. And then the future value on an installment note is always going to be what? 0. Now, we're going to use now, I'm going to show you how to use Excel and how to calculate certain things. And then once we have the spreadsheet, if we just insert different numbers, we're going to get different answers. So face value is a dollar amount. And if I hit Control, if I hold down Control on my keyboard, and I go to everything that I want to make a dollar amount. So this I want to make a dollar amount, and this I want to make a dollar amount. And then if I come up here and click on Format as Currency, it formats those cells as currency. This one is an interest rate, so I'm going to format that as a %, and then that's a whole number, and N's a whole number. See how I did that? Okay, so in Excel, it basically is going to calculate stuff, and actually for time value of money, whenever you want to calculate something, you always start with an equal sign, because you're telling the spreadsheet that, hey, I have to make a formula here. And so the formula that we're going to use it's actually called PMT, and then we're going to make a parenthesis here. And then when you hit the question mark, it gives us kind of how we have to put it into the computer. So the first thing we need is the rate. So we're not going to type in 6%, we're going to click in the cell. That way whenever we update our spreadsheet and put in different numbers, it will do that. So I'm going to refer to the cell there, B2. Then when I hit comma, that thing will pop up again. Number of periods. Number of periods is N, right? The present value is here. Now, it says future value, ending or beginning is 0, 0. And there's one other thing I got to do. If I look here, if I look at the example that it gives me, it says 0.05 divided by 12. What is this 12 here represent? That's monthly, right? So what do I got to put here? Divided by what?
6.
Why 6?
Semi-annual.
Semi-annual is 2. So I'm just going to refer to the cell reference here. Okay. Starting with the hardest one first. This is the hardest formula. There's our payment. So now if I, the one thing I would probably do here, let's see, N. Yeah, I'll leave it at how I have it for now. Okay, we could always mess with it later.
What were we supposed to divide by?
B3. So if I, watch this, if I go view and I hit all formulas, it'll show me all my formulas that I've typed in. So far I just typed in 1. Okay, now if I change the note to, let's say, I'm going to take off the formulas here for a second. If I change the note to 100,000 now, it's going to adjust the payment. it calculates it. So I don't have to sit there and punch it in over and over. If I change the market rate. Now, in Excel, or whatever we want to call this spreadsheet, this is your most important button, this undo button. The undo button is your go-to, because as soon as stuff goes wrong, you always want to undo. All right, so this is my favorite button that I will use. If it was on the keyboard, it would have nothing left on it because I hit undo all the time. You're never going to get your Excel spreadsheet right the first time. You're always going to be making mistakes, and you're always going to be going back and reformatting and rechanging things. It's a tenacity program. Do you have the tenacity to keep making mistakes, and keep fixing mistakes, and keep putting it in, and keep making mistakes? It's like you just have to do it. You can't sit there and try to be perfect because it's just not going to work, okay? All right, so now we're going to set up our column. We have date, payment, interest expense.
What column number are you on?
Right now,
Doesn't matter.
yeah, I mean, I'm in row 10 here.
Okay.
Interest expense, principal. And then loan balance or carrying value. Bless you, bless you. Oh, that's on tape. That's on tape. Everyone's going to hear it. Loan balance, carrying value. Now, you see how it kind of cuts off expense here? You could drag it out or do that. A shortcut to that, it'll format the width of the column if you just double click this. Watch. If I double click, it will automatically adjust it. Now I'm kind of weird. I like it all to be kind of the same. So if I highlight all the columns up here, and then I drag, I could kind of adjust it that way. If I double click, see how it takes each cell differently to the length of the text that I have. See the text up, so I got this big one up here, so it's using it. I like to do it to where it's all the same. It just looks nicer that way, I think. Okay, that's just a formatting thing. Now, on the issuance of the note, we have the issuance of the note was on A1 2020. Now, what happened here is basically the computer picked up that I was typing in a date, so it formatted that as a date. If I go to the next one here and I write in 2/1/20, because that's when the payment occurs. Now, let's say this was like a 40-year note. I'd have to keep typing the dates in, right? That would take me forever. Here's a shortcut. Once I type in the format, if I go Shift and I highlight, I have to highlight 2 though. You can't just highlight 1. I have to have 2 sets of data. If I drag down, it should keep the same format but go forward in years. Let's see if it works here. It didn't work. Oh, I hit the wrong number. See how I make mistakes? So watch. Look what I do. I just go back.
Undo button.
Undo.
Only there was one.
If there was a redo for life, I would never hit it. You learn by making mistakes. All right.
Good job.
There we go. No, that's not right. That's not what I want. Maybe it just won't let me do it for this particular. No, it should. It should. Let's try this. Format, number. Make sure I have it on dates. Let's double check that. It work for you? All right. There we go. Okay. See? All right. So now, on day 1, what is our carrying value of the note? It's always going to be the face value. So I got to be careful here, though. I want to refer to B1 here. And there's a thing called an absolute cell that we always want to relate back to that cell. So we always want to relate back to the face value in our formula. So in this case, we always want to refer back to B1. So I put a $sign B, $1. So what that means is when I copy that formula, it's always going to use B1. If I just put in B1 and then I copy the formula down, it'll pick up B2 the next time, and then B3. And this will make sense, and I'll show you in a second how this works. But the carrying value of the known is always going to be this minus whatever portion of the payment is going towards principal. And that really doesn't make sense right now why I typed that formula in, but it will in a second, okay? All right, so my payment now becomes
What was your minus?
minus whatever the D11 cell is.
Okay.
Now, this will make sense now in a second. Now, watch what happens. My payment, I always want to, does my payment change in this note?
No.
No. So I always want to refer to B5, but to make it absolute, once again, I have to put the dollar sign. All right, so how do we calculate interest expense? What's the formula here? When we did it, you should have this out in front of you, I don't know, because we're checking this. How do we get the interest expense? What do we do? What's the formula? Yeah, Jake, what's the formula? Principal times rate times time. What's the principal, Jake?
Principal is 200.
Good, but I never use a number. I always use the cell. So I'm going to use,
So you have to reflect
what's my rate?
0.06.
I'm not going to type in 0.06.
Oh, B2. B2.
Huh?
B2.
No? You're right, but you're not formatting it right. Do I always want to refer to B2? Dollar sign. Dollar sign, B, dollar sign, 2. Okay, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you for a second. Watch what happens when I just use B2. We'll get to that in a second. Now, what's my time frame here?
Half a year.
So I'm not going to type in a half. I'm going to confuse the computer here. Remember I said don't use a number when you make a spreadsheet? Well, watch what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to use a 1, because it's always going to be 1 over compounds per year. If I change this to a monthly note, it's going to be 1, and I'm always going to pull this cell right here. Oops. Something just happened. There it goes. Okay. Let me fix it. Bam. All right. Now, isn't that the number that we got was 6,000? That's how we got 6,000, right? Now, we did this cell wrong, Fendi. I did this wrong, but I'm going to show you why it's wrong in a second. Okay? Now, the principal, we're always going to take this. Now, since this is it's coming up as a negative, which is fine, we're going to,
Absolute value.
no, we're going to add in that to get the principal payment. So the principal payment's 47. Now, since I use an absolute formula here, if I just copy this, when I highlight the cell and I grab the bottom and I copy it down, the reason why it's doing that is because I have this minus this, but that's a negative, so it's treating it as a positive. So we got to trick the computer here for a second. We're going to go back to this one. Since it's coming up negative here, you can just put that as plus. Now when we copy it down, it should work. Trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. Get the numbers you want. Now watch what's going to happen here, Fendi. I should be done with the spreadsheet. I'm all done. If I did that cell right, I should be done. So I know I'm done because I could just drag this down, see how I get the payment. But watch what's going to happen here. It's going to get some weird, funky numbers. The reason why is when I copied this formula down, I took principal times rate times time. But when I copy it down 1, it's going to pull the next number down. So the rate here is in B2. I'm guessing it's going to say E12 times B3. That's my guess. E12, I haven't looked at it yet. E12 times B3. There it is. E12 times B3. Because when I put it in, I didn't refer this is the cell I always want to use in the formula. Since I copy it down, it copies down the next cell down in the spreadsheet. So that's why the dollar sign will hold that cell constant. All right. So when I come back up here, we're going to fix it now, and I'm going to show you why we're done with the spreadsheet. If I do that, and if I do this, everyone's got to do that. Now when I copy down, I'm going to get some numbers that make sense. And that makes sense, right? And that makes sense. Oop. All right, something's funky here, huh? This is funky. So when I go to this cell, it's D12. So here's D12. And we want to plus this one. So we want it, it's going to be this minus this gives me that, right? So when I look at this formula, I should have, I'm going to redo this formula here. I'm going to have this plus this. Now it should bring me to 0.
What was that?
Where's the 11 plus what?
Now, theoretically, if we got rid of these negatives here, remember when we did the problem, these were all kind of positive numbers. There's always this minus this gave me that.
Yeah.
Since that's a negative,
Oh,
this plus that gives me the, that's it. But this kind of actually makes more sense than the one we did by hand because the payment is an outflow, right? So there's your outflow. And when we pay the interest expense, we're knocking down the principal by that amount. So compare the two. You got the same answer. Is it the same chart? Same chart? So now, no matter what I do, no matter what I change, I should be able to get an updated chart, hopefully. Let's test it. Watch what happens. Well, the whole thing should adjust now, hopefully. Boom. Now you have a key for all installment notes you practice. So you should never say, hey, Mr. Rickes, can I have the key? You got the key now. Just plug it in. Now, what I would do here, though, let's say it's a monthly. The only thing I'm not happy with is n, because n, I got to pick out n in the problem. So I could even dummy this down further by saying how many years? I could put a question, how many years, right? And then over here, I could actually turn this into a formula. So when I come over here and I start the problem, it says how many years, and I type in, let's say, this one's 2 years, right? 2 years? There you go. If I change it back to 200, our original problem, you could check it, make sure, see? Work? Yep.
What does that be 3 times?
This one? So I even could say, I could be like, I could create kind of at the top of all my spreadsheets, I could create a little questionnaire, and I just punch the numbers into the questionnaire, and then boom, it'll pre-fill everything. So this is the power of Excel. The power of Excel allows you to adjust, change, put different numbers in, and unfortunately, it doesn't do the journal entries for you. All right, there's the installment note.